Richard Childress had raced that same half-mile of asphalt 57 years earlier, and nobody in the sport truly expected him to ever climb back into a stock car again. Yet on a July night in 2026 at Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut, the 80-year-old car owner strapped in behind the wheel one more time. And by the time the checkered flag fell, his story was only one piece of a night that turned into one of the wildest, most talked about races the sport had seen in years. To understand why this moment carried so much weight, you have to go back to who Richard Childress actually was, long before he became a Hall of Fame team owner. Most fans today only know him as the man standing on pit road, the businessman behind championship-winning cars, and one of the most recognizable numbers in the sport's history. But long before any of that, Childress was a driver himself, and not a wealthy one. Between 1969 and 1981, he made 285 starts in the top NASCAR series, picked up 76 top 10 finishes, and never once reached victory lane. He ran his own operation on a shoestring budget, patching together whatever equipment he could scrape up, fighting every single weekend just to keep his car on the track. His very first trip to Stafford came in 1969, and when he talked about it decades later, he didn't mention lap times or finishing positions. He talked about a beat-up 1954 Ford truck that hauled his race car to the track. He talked about having almost no money at all, and a team that, in his own words, didn't really know what it was doing yet. That kind of memory coming from a man who would later build one of the most powerful organizations in motorsports tells you a lot about where he actually started. That day back in 1969 was part of a NASCAR Grand America Series event, and while Childress battled up front, it was another driver who ultimately took the checkered flag. Everything changed in 1981 when Childress made the decision to step out of the driver's seat for good and hand his car over to a young, hungry driver. That single decision set off one of the greatest team and driver partnerships stock car racing has ever seen, and it turned Childress into the powerful owner the world recognizes today. His last time behind the wheel of anything competitive came in an exhibition race back in 1995. After that, it seemed like his driving days were closed for good. Then along came a name that changed everything, a hugely popular automotive content creator known for grassroots racing events and wild automotive stunts that pack grandstands with fans who might never set foot at a traditional oval, had built an enormous following doing exactly that kind of racing. By 2026, he wasn't just an online personality anymore. Earlier that year, he had signed a developmental deal with Childress's own race team, an introduction made possible through Childress's grandson. He was now running select second-tier NASCAR races on a part-time basis. So when this creator started planning his signature event, a wild exhibition race at Stafford called the New England 900, he had a direct line to the boss himself, and he used it without hesitation. He simply asked Childress if he wanted to race. There was no long negotiation, no weeks of convincing. Childress said yes almost instantly, saying he figured it would just be fun. In the days leading up to the race, he kept that same relaxed attitude, promising everyone involved that they would all have a good time together. The New England 900 itself is unlike anything else on a racing calendar. It is a 90-lap exhibition held at Stafford, where every single driver races an identical nitrous-boosted Ford Crown Victoria, machines one competitor accurately described as oversized, adult-sized go-karts. The field is a deliberate mashup of NASCAR regulars, drifting specialists, and internet personalities, all competing on completely equal equipment on a historic half-mile short track. This year's lineup included the reigning race winner, Childress's own grandson, a full-time NASCAR driver, a well-known drifting champion, and several other creators with massive followings, alongside the man who had made the whole event happen in the first place. Fans clearly wanted to see it. Every single seat at Stafford Motor Speedway sold out, drawing a crowd of more than 10,000 people. Once word got out that Childress himself would be racing, complete with a brand new fire suit and a black Crown Victoria, carrying his old number 3 on the door, the very number he once passed down all those years ago, the storylines practically wrote themselves before a single lap was turned. One driver in particular couldn't resist poking fun at the situation. Everyone in the sport still remembers a notorious incident from 2011 when Childress, after calmly removing his watch and handing it to his grandson, confronted another driver in the garage area and threw a punch that instantly became NASCAR legend. So when this year's defending New England 900 winner was asked about racing against an 80-year-old Childress, He joked that he had already told him to hold his watch before quickly backpedaling and admitting he had no intention of roughing up a man who might just as easily end up doing the roughing up himself. It was made even funnier by the fact that the race was happening on that very driver's own home track, a place where he had built his reputation as a short track champion with dozens of career feature wins. Then Friday night finally arrived. The engines fired, the cars rolled out under the lights, and more than 10,000 fans watched a man in his 80s take to the track for the first time at that speedway since 1969. Childress's approach was smart, calm, and patient from the very first lap. He wasn't there to race for the win or take unnecessary risk against drivers young enough to be his own grandchildren. He simply wanted to stay out of trouble, keep his car in one piece, and enjoy every lap of a moment 57 years in the making. Up front, though, the racing was frantic from the moment the green flag dropped. The lead changed hands over and over through the opening laps, drivers trading positions constantly, even racing three wide through heavy lap traffic at several points. Then on lap 62, disaster nearly struck the feel-good story of the night. Childress's car got loose entering turn 2, spun around, and clipped the outside wall hard enough to bring out the caution flag. For a moment, it genuinely looked like his comeback might end right there, with a heavily damaged car being loaded onto a trailer. But the damage wasn't severe enough to end his run. Once the track was cleared, Childress brought his battered car back out, kept it pointed straight, and finished every single remaining lap. When the checkered flag finally waved, he crossed the finish line in 10th place, having completed all 90 laps despite the wall contact. A genuinely remarkable result for an 80-year-old man returning to a track he hadn't raced at in nearly 6 decades. While Childress quietly wrote his own comeback chapter, running through the middle of the pack, the front of the field descended into complete chaos. The event's organizer fought his way into contention and made an aggressive move for the lead, only to get tangled up again with the race leader a short while later and slam hard into the turn 2 wall, ending his night for good. The rivalry between the two didn't end there either. During the caution period that followed, more contact between them left the race leader with a flat tire, instantly shuffling the entire running order. From there, things only got wilder. A restart triggered a multi-car crash heading into turn 3. Another car spun with heavy damage before the field could even complete another clean restart. A different driver took the lead by a nose before spinning himself moments later and collecting several more cars in the process. Through all of that carnage, one driver kept quietly working his way forward, a local short-track racer who had started the race dead last and seemed to have no business being anywhere near the front. He climbed steadily into second, then grabbed the lead for good with a massive run down the backstretch just a handful of laps from the finish. The battle for the win came right down to the final lap, with contact between the top 2 cars in the closing corner as they raced toward the white flag, and the local racer held on through the chaos to complete an incredible run from the very back of the field all the way to victory lane. The driver who had made the watch joke earlier in the week recovered from his flat tire to salvage a hard-fought second-place finish. Afterward, reflecting on watching an 80-year-old car owner mix it up on track with drivers a fraction of his age, one competitor summed up the moment perfectly, calling it a genuinely impressive thing to witness, and noting that Childress had looked completely in his element out there, having the time of his life. He also captured what made the whole event special in the first place, describing it as raw, unpolished racing built purely around fans, autographs, and the simple joy of competing, the way the sport used to feel in an earlier, simpler era. Strip away all the noise surrounding the event, the modified cars, the online fame, the sold-out grandstands, and what is left is a much simpler and more human story. In 1969, Richard Childress showed up at Stafford Motor Speedway in an old borrowed truck with barely any money to his name, and no real idea what he and his small team were even doing out there. 57 years later, he came back as one of the most powerful and respected figures in the entire history of the sport, a man who could have spent that particular Friday night anywhere in the world in complete comfort. Instead, he chose a small grassroots short track in Connecticut. He put on a brand new fire suit, climbed into a stock car one more time, spun out, hit a wall, and kept right on going anyway until he crossed that finish line under the lights. He had promised everyone beforehand that he would have fun no matter what happened out there on the track. And judging by the reaction from that sold-out crowd, and by the way he finished the race even after hitting the wall, That promise held up completely from the very first lap to the very last. Thank you so much for watching and for taking the time to go through this entire story with me from beginning to end.